Live from JMT Studios, it's time for Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast on the planet.
What is up, Jersey Kids, all you out there? This is episode 50. We made it here, Gary. We made it here. This is episode 50 of Two Jersey Kids, the gaming podcast that is called Two Jersey Kids. I hit my pop filter. You know, the same old, same old. I am the host of this gaming podcast, Adam Buckingham. Alongside me is the best stick handler in the business, Gary Seisel. How you doing today, Gary? How you feeling? We made it to 50. That's an exciting...
It's a good old day.
It's an exciting mark. It's a special episode, but it's not really that special because we're going to continue doing our own thing. Maybe in the future when we hit 100, which we will, we'll do something special.
I mean, in reality, we're getting close to 100. In reality, our numerical system's kind of out of whack. That's one of my things about this. I've wanted for the longest time to go back and change all the titles so it actually matches up, but it just drives me crazy. But anyway, we're here. We're at episode 50. I am very excited to be here as always.
See, with changing the episodes to different numbers won't actually fit because they're not normal episodes. This is the chunky, this is the meaty episode. The half episodes are where we're talking BSing around about our favorite boss or our favorite game or most underrated game. Go check out those half episodes that we did a while back. Maybe eventually we'll bring them back. What's up?
And if you want to go way back, you check out the ones where we talked about the video games releasing in particular weeks. That's for the hardcore Two Jersey Kids fans, the ones that remember those episodes, those shit show episodes.
Probably only Allison, Nikita, maybe Adam out there. Maybe they're the only ones that remember those fucking dreary episodes where we're reading through summaries. What the hell were we thinking? Oh, my goodness.
It's a learning process.
We're learning. We're only on 50 episodes. We're getting better each and every episode. I screwed up the intro multiple times rolling into this, which didn't happen for a while, but I got nervous because it was a special episode. It's episode 50. I'm guaranteeing because it's 50, there's going to be 1,000 people that download this episode. By next year, we're gonna get 1,000 by next year. But if you guys didn't know, this is Two Jersey Kids. We release every Friday. You can go follow us on Twitter at Two Jersey Kids, where we try to interact with everybody. We try to get questions from the audience, which we do have a question this week, which is exciting stuff. Try to interact with all you guys, and if you're a new listener, please stick till the end, and if you think we deserve it, please hit the subscribe button, and then you become an honorary Jersey Kid. I know that's exciting stuff. That means a lot. But yeah, then if you really want to help us out, you can go over to iTunes and give us a rating. It'll help us out a lot. You can find this podcast basically anywhere, but the rating system on iTunes is really what sets us above other podcasts out there, because we know we're great. Am I right, Gary? We're great.
We're tremendous.
We're the best.
Fantastic.
We're the best. We're bigly. But yeah, before we roll into everything that we normally do, I like to figure out what my best friend Gary has been up to this week. What have you been up to, my man?
Well, I've got a new job, which is very exciting, to say the least. Went in for the interview yesterday, got the job. It's pretty exciting. It's nothing crazy, but it's something to get my foot in the door and get started in my particular field, which is marketing. So, pretty awesome there.
Did you wear a red tie because that indicates power? And that's...
I actually had it was black and red. It was Rutgers-esque. Nice. That's the whole point here. It's the Rutgers theme that I'm going for. I actually wore my class ring as well, so that was also a nice touch.
Oh my god.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my god, that's so
you,
as I like to call it. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, in terms of video games,
what have you been doing before? So let's what have you been doing gaming wise? Because who really cares about what we do in our personal lives, even though we ramble off about it all the time?
Our dreary, boring lives. Now, I've been playing some PUBG. I've been streaming it as well, in case you want to actually watch it. But yeah, I've been playing PUBG a lot. I played a little bit of Counter-Strike recently. I haven't played too much, I guess, in the past few days. But a lot of PUBG, playing first person, which has been kind of like a learning curve, trying to learn how to play that game type as opposed to playing third person all the time. You have to kind of just do things differently in the game. But I've been having a great time in first person. It's just, in my opinion, it's the way the game should be played. And it's just
Speaking of
awesome.
PUBG, Gary, somebody on Twitter at Choco Personal, Drew O'Brien on Twitter, just wanted to give us a shout out because he hasn't been listening a little bit, which is okay. It's all right. but he asks, it's been a minute since he's listened to us. What's our stance on PUBG? So I figured I'll just throw this in right now because I kind of assumed you're going to be talking about PUBG because that's what you talk about for the last 3 weeks now. And
it's the new nuts. Destiny obsession.
So let's just get it all out there. What are your thoughts?
Well,
shoot your load, Gary.
Well, I mean, I used to criticize this game all the time back before I actually played it. I used to watch it a lot on Twitch, and I wasn't a big fan of how it looked, but because I thought it was too slow, personally. But I've come to appreciate this game a lot as I've played it more. It's one of those things where you just kind of get used to the pace. You kind of appreciate the game for what it is, at least in my case. The game can be really slow at times. You can have times where you get into a good position, but there's no one around you, and you're just waiting for minutes on end for someone to show up. So that's kind of annoying at times. But I played a lot of this game. I played like 140 hours, I think, so far.
Jesus Christ.
I've had time, Adam. I'm not working a full-time job yet here. But yeah, I played 140 hours of the game so far. I've really enjoyed it, as you can probably tell. I like to play it a lot I like to play by myself. I like to play it with my friends. It's really just up to you if you like to play solo or grouped or whatever. But now you have the option to play first person and third person. So again, pick your poison. Overall, though, I really, really enjoy this game. It's just, I love the whole idea around it. The fact that you have to be the last man standing or last squad standing. It's just really cool to me. And the looting and everything in the game is really cool. So, I mean, that's pretty much my stance.
How many times have you won? That's all I care about. Second place doesn't count. Only first.
At least, I mean, in solos, I've only won twice.
Not good enough, Gary. Not good enough.
Shut the hell up. But in terms of like teams, I think we've won probably about five times, maybe a little bit more. I think the thing with me though, like in the beginning with especially solos, I was trying to go for kills a lot, and in third person, it's kind of hard to do that because everybody can just sit around walls and look around, and it's, I don't know, kind of lame. So I was just dying all the time really early, just trying to get kills, and I think I've kind of relaxed a little bit on that. But yeah, anyway, I recommend this game to you, Drew, if you want to play it. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion.
Cool.
Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's good enough. Well, you've been doing anything else, or are you going to be rude and not ask me what I've been up to because you keep always forgetting this son of a bitch?
One last thing, actually, in my real life, I'm actually going to be playing in a charity hockey tournament this weekend for a good cause. So that's pretty cool too. But
now I feel like a dingus because I just said that.
Yeah, well, other than the fact that I'm doing something for the good of humanity, Adam, what have you been up to?
Nothing on that nature of being that great for the humanity as of yet, anyway. I can't. Maybe in the future. I guarantee in the future I'll be doing better things for humanity. But gaming-wise, really all I've been playing, I tweeted out a few times, is a game called Sundered, indie title, released last week on Tuesday, I believe. Really digging it. I mentioned it on the last week's episode, but I didn't get too much into it because I haven't been that far. But it's basically a Metroidvania game, very beautiful art style. I finally got to the second boss. You can technically take the bosses any way you please. You basically gain abilities so you can go farther into each level. It's just really cool. I really enjoying the game. The bosses are ginormous. I don't know if Gary, did you see the picture I tweeted out where I faced the first boss? I was like on a little tiny platform and this gigantic guy in the chair. I was like, oh my god. And this game does throw a lot of crap at you at once. Like sometimes you can just get stuck in like an endless mob of just a cacophony of people just left and right, just trying to just jam up your butt, just basically trying to kill you. It's just, it's nuts. But if you go into the game, the skill tree is just immense. How many things you can level up. You don't level up too many things. It's mostly like your shield, your cannon, the damage you do, health. And that's basically all I can think of. Maybe luck, which increases the amount of shards you can collect to repay and get better. I came into this game expecting, I was a little nervous it'd be like Dark Souls where you lose all the shards you collect and you have to go back, but it's not the case. It's more like Rogue Legacy where you die, you level back up, and you go on and you try to progress farther and farther. I did notice that it's kind of cool how when you go into different rooms after you die, it's not the same exact layout as before, unless it's a specific shortcut or a different ability gate that was unlocked. Other than that, all the rooms I think are like procedurally generated where they sort of change each time, so it's not completely the same, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I've been really digging it. I finally decided to choose this over multiple other games out there because I was kind of bored over the weekend because Marta wasn't here. So I was just like, what do I do with myself when I have free time, when I'm trying to take a breather from coding and all that jazz. So I've been playing that. It's been a good time. Other than that, I haven't really been doing too much. It just seems like work is getting the better of me this week. It's been a little hectic and a little stressful, so it's a thing. But yeah, I'm here now. Episode 50, Two Dirty Kids. It's always a nice stress relief doing this, just chatting about the bullshit that is video games because they don't really matter, let's be real. But it's fun to talk about them anyway. But Gary,
I completely agree.
That's enough about me. I don't have much going on anymore. It's time for This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade. But not really, it's Moby Games. Hit it, Gary.
The first game on the list is No Man's Sky, released on PS4 and Windows in 2016. This game, of course, is everybody's favorite space exploration game. As you all obviously already know, this game had a massive hype train and also a massive crash that ensued after it disappointed many people upon release. To be honest, this game, in my opinion, this game really wasn't that terrible. I always personally enjoyed it for what it was. It was a small game made by a small indie developer. Granted,
they promised the moon.
Granted, Sean Murray may have lied a little stretching the truth a little bit, but I really like this game, even though it didn't live up to the expectations. So what else did I have here on this thingamajig? Oh, so some of the things I had to go
episode 50, we're moving smoothly. It's like a well-oiled machine right now.
This is different because this particular game that I'm talking about, I've played, so I didn't have like Wikipedia, for example, to just like read off of. So I'm going off the cuff here a little bit.
Oh no! So you have to create your own content. Oh, woe is you!
You can't just steal off of other. Lazy.
You can't steal other people's work.
But Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, this game didn't live up to expectations. Now, from a personal standpoint, I think this game could have actually been better if it did a few things, which are, I think, the game being cheaper, I think would have been a better thing, maybe going to like $30, maybe less. They could have pulled that off. Additionally, I think Sean Murray could have been more transparent about what the game actually was and how they were going to improve it going forward. And then finally, I think that the fans sometimes need to take a step back, need to take a breath, and just not expect a Mass Effect-esque experience on the scale of No Man's Sky. That's just my thoughts there. But what were you going to say, Adam?
Speaking of No Man's Sky, there has been a news coming out this week talking about there's actually going to be a release for No Man's Sky. I know it's back on people's brains. I know everybody out there is that excited. So I'm just going to read off the blog post that No Man's Sky, the developers, Hello Games, decided to put out there. Quote, "Hello, it's been a year since No Man's Sky's first release, and it's been an exciting, intense, and emotional year for us at Hello Games. We've been quiet, but we have been listening intently. We've spent that year working hard on free updates for this game our team cares about so much. Update 1.3 will release this week and will be available for free to all No Man's Sky players. We're calling it Atlas Rises. It focuses on improving the central story of No Man's Sky and adds the ability to quick travel between locations using portals. Patch notes will be made available shortly before the update goes live. What we do is much more important than what we say." Oh, that's kind of funny. But since launch, we've had sometimes focused too much on that. We wanted to reach out and celebrate the devoted community that means so much to us. We launched Waking Titan to try to do that. When we posted those cassettes, we didn't know what to expect. In the last 8 weeks, 250,000 players from across the globe have come together, united by a shared love of mystery and science fiction to form the Citizen Science Division. You've traveled great distances, both real and virtual, undertaken complex tasks, and explored the depths of simulation theory. New friendships have been forged, and the tight-knit community has been created. Most importantly, a cute hamster has a new home. You've become part of No Man's Sky's origin story. It's been an honor to watch, but this is just the beginning. Whether you followed Waking Titan or not, we are welcome anyone to sign up to Citizen Science Division and join. The journey continues. Thank you for this year. We hope you enjoy what comes next. Good old Sean. So I just want to lump that in because it's been the year and they announced this new basically free update. I guess it sounds like they're going to be adding more things. I guess we'll see when the patch notes come out eventually, but What are your thoughts on what they're doing, Gary?
I mean, I'm excited that they're going to be addressing the lack of story in the game. I just don't know what to expect from the update itself. I mean, they say they're improving the central story, but there really wasn't a story there to begin with, so I'm not sure what you're improving on.
Main snarky thing people would say in the comments, like, how do you improve the story when there's no story to begin with?
Well, that's exactly the point, and I don't know what that's really involving. They're being very vague here, and I guess they're doing that on purpose now, considering what they've been through over the past year with, promising too much and then not really delivering. So I'm excited. I mean, anything that involves this game is intriguing to me personally. I don't know about anybody else out there, but this game is just such an awesome idea, and it's really a shame that it didn't really pan out the way it was supposed to. And I think some of the hate was kind of ridiculous, but we've talked about that in the past, and I'm not going to go into that again.
We talked about that a lot. You can go back to way back when. I think episode 15 was the one where we talked about the foundation, how they're sort of building a foundation with No Man's Sky, and I repeat it constantly, so I don't want to reiterate myself for people that have listened to this podcast since the beginning, which bravo on you for doing that. I don't know. It's impressive you stuck with us this long through our trials and tribulations, but I kind of had a thought, too, when I was writing this article. We'll go back to the final end game, but I just want to get No Man's Sky out of the system. Yeah. I don't want to go, talk about it this week in gaming and then go back to it later on, so I just want to get it all out of the system. I just sort of had a thought. Do you think this is one of the most polarizing video games you've ever seen? It's kind of interesting. I did mention that it's No Man's Sky and Destiny releasing so close kind of together, somewhat the same time frame, how they're just two very polarizing games right off the get-go. And still to this day, you see No Man's Sky where you get defenders and you have people hating on it left and right. And it's just interesting to see how this game has divided people so much.
I mean, it absolutely is true. I mean, these games have so much in common in that both studios, I feel like, promise so much for their games. I remember with Destiny, I remember people saying to me that, this game's going to have a Star Wars-like story, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And then with No Man's Sky, it was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can be a space pirate. You can, travel across in these crazy planets. You're going to see all these crazy things all the time. Of course, none of these things ever happened for either of those games. So, I mean, I can see, I guess it is, I guess they are polarizing, but I feel like with Destiny, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of different in the way they polarize. Like No Man's Sky, I feel like it. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. They're both very polarizing, though. Both games flopped out of the gate, made a ton of money, and then improved as time went on. So yeah, they are polarizing for sure.
Okay, fair enough. Move on to the second game. Just get
let's
finish with No Man's Sky. Let's move on.
All right. So the next game on the list was System Shock 2. Released on Windows in 1999. Now, this is per Wikipedia, so it's going to be a lot smoother this time around, I promise. The game takes place on board a starship in a cyberpunk depiction of 2114. The player assumes the role of a soldier trying to stem the outbreak of a genetic infection that has devastated the ship. Like System Shock, gameplay consists of first-person combat and exploration. It also incorporates role-playing system elements in which the player can develop skills and traits such as hacking and psionic abilities. Now, Ken Levine was the designer of this game, with co-developers being Irrational Games and Looking Glass Studios. Now, for those that are unaware, Ken Levine would later be the director of the title BioShock, which would be basically the spiritual successor of System Shock. Now, overall, this game would do very well, receiving very high ratings across the board, and also several awards, including 7 Game of the Year prizes.
Oh, exciting. I love me some prizes.
It's on Steam.
I always hear people talking about this game, and I don't know, I feel like the IP, when I've listened to gaming podcasts, when they mention System Shock and they talk about the IP bouncing from different company to different company, and I don't think it ever will come back. But I never actually thought about going back and playing this game. I always hear about it constantly, and if it's sort of got the same vibe as BioShock and developed by the same people, I feel like it's definitely worth a look, because it sounds like it's a fantastic game. From what I can hear about System Shock and System Shock 2, people hold it in such reverence that I think it may be worth it. I have to figure out where to find it first, though.
On Steam.
On Steam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's rated a 9 out of 10. So I was actually looking it up earlier. I was like, this is pretty crazy. But yeah, that would be all for this week in gaming. So I hope you all enjoyed, once again, the great trivia that is This Week in Gaming.
It's time for the news, as Gary likes to say sometimes. Then sometimes he doesn't say it. But we're starting off with kind of a sad note for me, but there apparently Shadow of Mordor is going to have microtransactions, which is kind of strange. So in an official statement by Monolith Studios, they write, quote, "An important aspect of the Nemesis system now comes in forging, customizing, and leading your own army of unique orc followers against the fortresses of Mordor. There are different ways to do this, including dominating orcs by exploring the vast open world and encountering them as part of orc society. Or players can acquire orcs or others through the market, an in-game store. Through the market, players can purchase loot chests, war chests, XP boosts, and bundles. Access only with an online connection." I'm going to stop right there. Just say, Jesus frickin' Christ, why are loot boxes seeping into every type of game out there? Even now, single-player games. It's ridiculous.
And I'm also pretty sure it just happened in PUBG as well, by the way. They're just infiltrating every game, seeping into them. It's terrible.
So loot chests contain gear of varying rarity. Equipping and upgrading these weapons and armors enhance Talion's character abilities. Loot chests can also contain XP boosts that help level up Talions faster. War chests provide orc followers of varying rarity to help forge a strong army. They can also contain training orders to level up and customize orc followers. XP boosts are consumable to help level up Talion faster. Bundles package up loot chests, war chests, and boosts together at a great value. To purchase these items, players can spend Mirian or gold throughout the game as one progresses. Mirian is a type of in-game currency that can be acquired by defeating treasure orcs, destroying orcs, and they're finding their stash throughout the game, like playing the actual game, which makes more sense. Gold is another form of in-game currency that can be used to get higher level loot chests, war chest boosts, and bundles of the aforementioned content. But gold is you actually use your real-life money. Please note, no content is gated by gold. All content can be acquired naturally through normal gameplay. So I'm ellipsing down to the bottom, basically what people care about. Quote, "Does gold give me an advantage in the game? No, gold does not give you an advantage over other players. A player who invested enough time can progress the same amount and have access to the same content as players who purchase gold. Gold is not required to progress or advance in the game at all. Gold merely allows you to get your hands on items immediately, cutting down some of the additional time that would have been spent winning more battles, tracking nemesis? Sure. Completing quests and assaulting the fortresses." I kind of I was reading through multiple articles about this and how they added microtransactions, and I have kind of opinions, and I kind of thought Shack News made a good point when they're talking about these microtransactions, is that this final mention of how you can cut down on winning more battles, tracking nemesis, completing quests, doesn't that kind of mean that the developer thinks the game is tedious to begin with? Like, why would you want to cut down portions of the game if you think that it's actually worth it? Like, maybe people will actually want to play the game, but you're now telling them, no, you can cut down time because it's unnecessary, it's filler, it's BS, it's not that fun. Who cares about it? I mean, I personally probably would like going through and playing the nemesis and assaulting fortresses. It all seemed really cool. And there's somebody that I interacted with on Twitter, but before that, Gary, what are your initial thoughts about all of this? Microtransactions in a $60 single-player game.
Well, first of all, I can't really understand. I still can't understand to this day why companies still continue to do this. I mean, they know that the general gaming community hates microtransactions. I mean, you see it everywhere. People talking about how games become pay to win, and it just drives people crazy. And I'm not really sure why companies continue to incorporate microtransactions in their game. I mean, I guess if you're just buying something that's cosmetic or aesthetic, like, a cool looking helmet that doesn't have any stats or anything that affects the game, that's okay. But something like this, that's kind of ridiculous. So
it also affects the online capability, because there is online where you can basically build up your own fortress with a certain orc and set it as your online orc. So what happens if somebody pays money and gets like a rare orc in this chest, and you're stuck grinding out getting different orcs, and they're just able to get it right away? I mean, mind you, I probably won't play the online capability of this game, but it's just a kind of a shitty thing.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I don't know about you people out there, but I really like the whole grinding aspect of games. I like getting better, improving, getting better gear, getting better just skill-wise.
Mm-hmm. That's why people love MMOs, because it feels like you're gaining. Like, it may be slow and tedious, but you're gaining towards something, the end game, getting higher and more leveled up. But I did have a conversation with Jason Strife at Eno, I don't know, the Strife on Twitter. He was basically saying that he was sad because he won't be able to get it. This is at the time, initially, my initial reaction. I said, doesn't mean you can't get it. Sucks there are microtransactions, and I hope they aren't game breaking. I'll just take the wait and see approach. But he responded to say, I understand that. It's just something I try not to support. As a result, I tend to not buy games with microtransactions like this. And I respect that. I really do. I gave it more thought, and I kind of... It's really difficult for me because I was so excited for this game at E3. I remember our E3 special. I kind of gave this my game of the show because I love this game so much, and I don't like microtransactions. The fact that they're coming into a single-player game kind of frustrates me, and I don't know if I really want to go out there and support this type of thing, because I always say, put your money where your mouth is. If you believe in something, don't go support it. And I respect what Jason is saying, and I completely agree with it. I may not actually run out and support this title when it comes out, because I don't want to, support this idea of putting microtransactions into a game like this.
I have one question.
Sure.
In response to this, whatever happened to just playing the game? You get on, you play the game, and then you get certain rewards from it. I don't understand the point of buying everything up front. What happens once you have everything already? What is the point to play anymore? I mean, are you just fighting? Are you just destroying everything in sight? It doesn't make much sense to me. I feel like it defeats the purpose of actually playing the game when you can just buy everything ahead of time.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to get beefed up ahead of time right at the beginning, because that makes it no fun. I've been to games where because I pre-ordered it, I get better stuff to begin with, and then it makes the game easier, which doesn't make it fun. You know what I mean?
I mean, I can see that. It depends. If you get certain rewards for pre-ordering, you get
I'm just saying
a rifle, or
I'm not saying that pre-ordering is bad, doing the pre-order stuff. I'm just saying that buying something outright because you're purchasing it and you can skip down time, that I feel like for me it cuts down the fun experience of going through it, because then you're so overpowered it doesn't really do anything, because you're just going through it rather aimlessly, and doesn't add the excitement of maybe losing, maybe getting your character killed, and things along that nature. The only thing I heard something that I thought was an interesting point, to play devil's advocate to all these people who didn't want to support that, and I respect everybody out there that's saying that they don't want to support that. I'll see it when I believe it. Honestly, the video game audience can be a little fickle when it comes to certain things, Mass Effect being the main one. But it was an interesting point that they made, is maybe Monolith is trying to curb the loss of sold used games, where people go purchase the game, they sell it back, and then this retailer now is selling it used, and they get the full markup of the price, whereas now that developer is not getting that price that's sold used. Now, maybe adding microtransactions is a way to curb this, because they know that when it's a used game and it's sold back out, at least there's a chance for that person to go in and say, hey, I want to purchase something, and then that purchase goes back to Monolith Studios. But it's just, again, that's sort of I don't think that's the way they would go, because that's kind of shitty, because it seems like more and more these days people are leaning towards digital purchases, digital codes, where you can't really sell back used digital games, because that's not really a thing. So it's interesting take I've heard people say, but what are your thoughts?
I think it's possible, but I also think, I've seen a lot of games, at least the developers claim this, but in the case of Destiny, for example, they had where they had it was called silver. It was a different type of currency that you would have to buy using real world money, or I think you earned it somehow in the game. I can't remember. I never used it, but with that particular like the microtransactions they had in that game, they claimed they were putting that money towards future improvements. Now, if that's the case, I can see why microtransactions might be a good thing. But again, when microtransactions make certain players better than others quicker and give them better gear and shit like that, it's, I don't really agree with that at all. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, really. It can be good and bad.
Because this is a single-player game, getting a better advantage doesn't really help out too much because it's not multiplayer. But then it's also just like you're paying $60, and now on top of that, there's going to be microtransactions. And I'm going to guess that they're not going to be thrown at your face. But I guarantee you, when you go to the market or you're collecting these in-game currency, when you go to the market, it'll be right there. It'll say, "Oh, you can pay this upped price, or you can pay this little amount of gold," which is ridiculous. And ridiculous to begin with. The fact that it's kind of popping in my head now that you can still use in-game currency, but you go to a marketplace to purchase loot boxes. That doesn't make any sense in this type of world. I mean, this is a fantasy world. I get that, but going to a mythical market and buying these boxes that randomly populate things with different items, that fits nowhere in this type of game. Now it's fucking ridiculous in my brain. Just processing through all this information now
just ruins the immersion in the game. But yeah,
that's a somber note for me. Now I got to decide whether or not I want to support this, and I'm leaning towards no. Thanks, Jason Strife at the Strife. On Twitter. Thanks again for interacting with us. We always like interacting with people on Twitter, and when they act like actual human beings and don't just say, "Bah, you suck." They probably say worse things than that, but that's the only thing that popped in my head at the time when I was saying that. Moving on, before I embarrass myself more, Rainbow Six Siege player base. According to a Ubisoft blog post, quotes, its original roster of 20 operators has expanded to 30, and 16 globe-spanning maps currently serve as battlegrounds for the ongoing fight between attackers and defenders. And now it has another number to celebrate. Rainbow Six Siege recently hit the 20 million registered player mark, with more than 2.3 million players signing on every day. Quote, "Our community is growing, and so is our ambition to make Siege a shooter that is here to stay," says Nicholas Lefebvre, product developer. Director, quote, the next few weeks are very exciting as it marks the culmination of Operation Health and the release of our next season set in Hong Kong, end quote. Operation Health, here you go, Nikita. I finally found something that summarized what Operation Health was. Operation Health was an initiative started by the development team to issue a series of fixes and upgrades with the goal of improving the overall Rainbow Six Siege experience. The team has most recently conducted public technical tests to gather information on new servers that will help improve match stability. Additionally, the four-minute Season 3 will bring 2 operators from Hong Kong's Special Duties Unit, the SDU, a new operator from Poland's Grupo Regionalna Operacyjnego Manewro, or GROM, a new map,
nice,
and new weapons. New operators open up new strategic possibilities and challenge players to come up with new tactics, making the start of a new season the perfect time to dive into this action. And Gary, I think I saw on the Google Doc you found this actually really interesting. All of this, it's kind of it is. But before you get into it, it's kind of insane that the player base, there's 2.3 million signing into every day, and it's kind of come a long way since the first release. Where I thought, I don't know if this is actually going to take off because certain online only games they crash and burn. What was the one from Borderlands developer Gearbox? I can't remember. It was basically competing with Overwatch at the same time, and it just bombed out completely. It's just crazy how this game has taken on a life of its own, and people do love it, and it's kind of cool that they are trying to make this game the best that it can be. What are your thoughts, Gary?
Yeah, the thing that I found really interesting personally, I mean, I don't know if it's really interesting to a lot of people, but the whole fact that the Operation Health is centered around them improving the overall experience of Rainbow Six. Like, I play a lot of games where the servers are, questionable. There's a lot of lag. It never seems to get any better, even though they say they're working on it. I just think it's really cool that the studio itself is really focusing on, testing their servers, tweaking their servers to make sure that everybody's getting like the best experience and that the matches are actually going to be fair for everybody. I think that's just an awesome thing, and you got to hand it to them.
And don't you see that the community would respond to something like this when they see developers are actively trying to make the game that they love and enjoy so much, and maybe seeing this article and seeing the fan base and the player base, and they're actually putting time and effort to improve this game, you think I feel like that will add more people from the outside looking in. It's like, oh wow, they really care about this game. Maybe I should give it a chance. Maybe I should hop in.Maybe I should, because they care about it so much, I won't be left out in the cold when I hop in Season 3 and try to play, and this will be the last season, because it seems like they're trying to make this as a platform for the future for, I guess this is just a continued, I forget what's the terminology they use nowadays. The game is a platform or something along those lines, where these games now are just a set in stone, and Rainbow Six will keep going on, but just add constantly new things to play with. And I've always seen this on like the PSN store, and I'm like, I'm always tempted to buy it because it seems like it's always on sale for some odd reason.
Did you ever play what was it, the beta, I believe it was? Did you ever play that? I
think I did way back when. I can't remember how I felt about the game back then. I feel like it was buggy. I feel like the beta was very buggy, too, from what I remember people playing.
I can't remember too much either. I remember it being very tactical, as opposed to, I was playing Destiny at the time a lot, so the contrast of both of those games
Destiny
was
wasn't a
severe.
tactical shooter? What?
No.
No way.
No, man. No, it's not at all. That is for sure. But yeah, I actually this game was actually pretty cool. But it was never enough for me to buy it. I don't know if I would ever play it consistently unless I had people to play with, and that was kind of the key there. But
I do remember talking to Nikia a while back on Twitter, and I think that's one of the reasons he stuck around with Rainbow Six Siege, is that he actually had people to play with, and that seems like in this type of game would be very beneficial because it's very tactical, assaulting a certain area, saving a hostage, yada yada yada.
Well, it's kind of like Counter-Strike. I mean, I played Counter-Strike now for a little bit, and in that game especially, I just can't play with random people. One, they're usually toxic people that play that game, and I also need to talk to my teammates. So I really don't feel like talking to strangers. So yeah, friends, that's where you got to go. It's the best. Find gamer friends. That's key. Make
friends, people. Go actually talk to them like a human being. Maybe you'll find some friends. It helps out a lot. I remember, I don't want to go on a tangent, but back in the day, I used to talk to people all the time on 360 or PlayStation. You'd be able to find cool dudes besides us when we were just felt like being dicks and just yell like little kids. But there were cool people out there when you were actually trying to interact with people, because, human beings are human beings. And if you talk to them like a normal human being, they'll respond like a normal human being. I hope, anyway. But yeah, moving on to actually a piece of news that I'm actually really excited about. So apparently Spelunky, Downwell, and more indie devs have announced an 8-bit game anthology called UFO 50. I went to the UFO 50 site, and it says, because there's not too much, there was an announcement trailer with different videos of the game. Quote, UFO 50 is a collection of 50 single-player and multiplayer games from the creators of Spelunky, Downwell, Time Barons, Scorpelec, and Madhouse. Jump in and explore a variety of genres from platformers and shoot-em-ups to puzzle games and RPGs. Our goal is to combine a familiar 8-bit aesthetic with new ideas and modern game design sensibilities, end quote. I also put in some of the questions that I was kind of curious about, and I wanted to announce them all to here. They had questions and answers. How big are the games? In general, the games are slightly smaller than commercial 8-bit titles from the 80s, but rest assured that they are full games and not micro games or mini games. Completing the entire collection could easily take over 100 hours. What platforms is UFO 50 coming out, and when? We're planning to release the game on PC first in 2018 and then move on to other platforms. And finally, what kind of multiplayer is available in the collection? All the games will feature a single-player mode, and roughly a third of the games will feature either cooperative or competitive multiplayer modes as well. Seeing this announcement trailer, seeing it's from like indie devs like Spelunky and Downwell, great indie titles like that. Spelunky I've played extensively on Vita, fantastic game. Love me some Spelunky. Haven't got back to it in a while, but I keep thinking about it. When I ever see people playing, like I get that little twitch. It's like that in Rogue Legacy. I get like a twitch. I'm like, oh, I want to go back and play, but I always forget to go back and play, which is kind of sad. But it's kind of cool seeing these videos. I see like some remnants of, I don't know, the one that sticks out in mind is like Double Dragon or something along those. I'm not sorry. I'm still like a millennial. I'm only 23, so don't hate me if I get these titles wrong, because I'm not, because if I had the NES collection, maybe I would actually know these games. But shot to Nintendo, because that seems like what we do all the time. Gary, dig me out of this hole.
Okay, well, I will say this. This isn't something that initially caught my eye, but I was reading more into it, and I really like the fact that they have all these games in a collection and all types of different genres you can go into. Like, I love RPGs personally, but there's some days where I want something just different, and it's kind of cool that they're doing a variety of games for basically all tastes. People that are maybe shooter fans will play a puzzle game or play an RPG, and vice versa. So I think it's pretty exciting to see what they're going to be able to come up with. And once again, I think it's really interesting to see how indie developers do things differently than like the big name studios, and how much more flexibility they have to do these sorts of projects that are just different and fresh, basically.
And I just think it's kind of cool how they're paying homage to what came before, and they're trying to make games somewhat along those lines, but having a different twist to it. And yeah, I will 100% whenever this comes out the console, or if I have a PC by that time, who freaking knows in 2018.
Yeah, man.
Maybe I'll hop into I'm definitely gonna grab UFO 50. It just seems kind of cool. Bring reminiscent, well, not reminiscent because I'm young, so I haven't actually played these games, but actually maybe I can grow an appreciation for this style of gameplay and different like shoot 'em ups or RPGs that were developed back in the 8-bit style. But moving on. This is I don't know, Gary. Valve announced a new game. Could it possibly be Half-Life 3? No, it's not. It's not. But the game is called Artifact. It's a Dota card game, and it is, as you might imagine, a collectible card game spin-off from a hugely popular. I can't fucking speak. The hugely
popular. That's pretty sweet.
The hugely popular Dota. One thing we do know about Artifact is that ex-Double Fine developer Brad Moore is leading the project. Moore worked on 2005's Psychonauts before he became project lead on tower defense titles like Iron Brigade, Amnesia, Fortnite, Prototype, Brazen, and then turn-based strategy released Massive Chalice. I just actually kind of wanted to see, because I know people had reactions online, and I actually went and saw there was a reaction of people when they were at the International, because I think this wasn't announced, and you could kind of hear from the sounds how they were so sort of disappointed when it was announced that it was a card collecting game. They were like, "Oh!" And I heard some boos. There were some boos. There were some that were upset. It just seems like Valve is never actually going to release Half-Life 3. It's just a myth now. It's like the Loch Ness Monster. You'll never find it, no matter how hard you look. But apparently, this game is actually in the vein of Dota, where there will be 3 lanes. You'll have 5 heroes. I guess you collect and you equip equipment to your heroes to better suit them, and it seems like that's how they would differentiate from the likes of Hearthstone or Elder Scrolls Legend or Magic the Gathering or the other thousands of card games out there that are out there nowadays. There's card collecting games that aren't really card collecting games, but sort of like Duelist, and there's like they're not RuneScape, but it's like some where you place down cards and they go through the map, and there's a lot of card collecting games. That seems like this is now hit the stride of card collecting era games, where it just seems like that happens. Like some eras, it's like the open world RPG, or sometimes it's just like the shooters all of a sudden hit at one time. It's just that seems like what's happening with card games.
Indeed, I have to say. Hey, this is just me, people, but I am not a card game guy. It just isn't my thing.
Try Hearthstone, my man. There's a new expansion coming out. You should try Hearthstone. It's very straightforward to get into. You may get trounced by a few people in the beginning because you don't have all the cards, which kind of is frustrating for people going in. But Hearthstone, I feel like, is the easiest card game to get into. It's very straightforward. Check it out, my man.
Well, first of all, did you ever play the game Gwent? In the greatest game of all time, The Witcher?
No, that card game was awful. I'm sorry. I did not like Gwent at all. Just seemed stupid. Funny. Didn't make any sense to me. Maybe just you can call me an idiot. You can tweet at Two Jersey Kids and say Adam is an idiot. There you go. But I don't know. I just didn't really find Gwent like very intuitive. It just didn't seem fun at all to me.
People were so fascinated by that game, and again, I've never been a card game guy. And, of course, we're going to be talking about yet another one in this next news article that you found, I'm pretty sure. So
somewhat. It's
I'll say
weird.
This. Yeah, it's kind of like a combination. But, yeah, I'll let you take it.
Since we're talking about it, let me take the wheel on this. Apparently, Gearbox has announced a new game, but it's not Borderlands 3. The game is code Project 1v1, and not much is known except what is on the website. Quote, Project 1v1 is a code name for Gearbox top-secret in-development competitive first-person shooter that combines the action of fast-paced 1v1 first-person combat with the metagame strategy of collectible card game. Whew. Project 1v1 will be holding a short closed technical test this summer. We are looking for a limited number of players to test the online infrastructure and learn what players like to think about the game in order to inform and influence future development. The test will be held on North American servers, so international players may experience decreased performance, end quote. It just... I don't know what to make out of this game, a 1v1 online first-person combat, but also a collectible card game on the back end. I don't understand what this game actually is. I do. I didn't make a kind of a joke, but it's kind of serious. Well, like, hey, maybe this is actually a competitive multiplayer game I can get into, like Hearthstone, because I don't need to worry about other people.
Well, is it possible that maybe it's, I guess obviously it's a 1v1 sort of situation, but do you earn cards by defeating other people? Is that how it's done? Or do you use cards to defeat people? Do you throw cards at people?
Yeah, we're all just like, shit, what is it? I want to say Cable, but that's not the right thing. We're all, Gambit, just fucking throwing, first-person card throwing at each other. They explode as we throw them. I don't know what this actually is, and it's kind of... It's really frustrating because we know the fan base knows what they want when it comes to Valve or Gearbox. People want Borderlands 3. People want Half-Life 3. People want Left 4 Dead 3, but they're just not giving them to us.
Wasn't Borderlands 3 announced, though? Weren't they talking about this in the past? What do you call it? I was reading somewhere, at least in the comments, that they're like...
It was the pre-sequel. I think that was the follow-up to Borderlands 2, but it was never Borderlands 3. It was the pre-sequel, so I think it predated Borderlands 2, but it was a sequel to Borderlands 1, I think. And I think you ended up on the moon. But that's really all I know about that, Gary.
I will say something, though. This game, as weird as it sounds, and for as much as I don't really understand about what they're getting at here, they are doing something very much different, I think. So it could be interesting to see what this game develops into eventually, once we actually learn something about it.
I mean,
at the very least.
I mean, Gearbox did do something different with the last game, and I meant to look it up, the MOBA-style game. Oh my god, it's going to kill me. They tried to do something different, not Gearbox or not Borderlands style, and it sort of bit them in the ass because they couldn't. The game just didn't sell well, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to admit it, but I did hop on that train to begin with. I was like, oh, this is exciting. Maybe this is a game I'll stream. And then I just, like, hopped into Overwatch and was like, oh, my God, this is so much better. I'm sorry. And I just left the game. But, yeah, we'll see how it goes. A 1v1 first-person action, yada, yada, yada. Moving on. I just hit my pop filter. I'm sorry. You can't go an episode without hitting my pop filter. To the final article. Apparently, if you want a modern N64 controller, you can now get one according to a Kickstarter campaign. The Retro Fighter controller for N64 is a modern take on the N64 controller. They wanted to remake the N64 controller with the next generation features and designs. So what did they change? Quote, we changed some things to make the N64 controller more ergonomical and a new modern way to play. First, we added a very comfortable modern analog stick. We also made the C buttons slightly larger for games that use the C buttons for more than just camera angles, i.e. Smash Brothers. The shape of the controller is very comfortable and fits naturally in both hands with easy access to all the buttons. It's basically like looks kind of like this setup of DualShock 4 360 style controller. We added 2 Z buttons and repositioned them right below the shoulder buttons, and this allows you to use your right or left hand to use the Z button. A button, a turbo button was added for games where you might need a little extra help. D-pad features 0 dead zones or sensitivity response issues. Finally, we got rid of the 3-prong N64 controller design, a new modern and comfortable way to play your favorite N64 games, end quote. So apparently these controllers do not support USB functionality, but they said, quote, it would have cost us a lot more time and money to come up with a controller with both N64 and USB functionality. The software and time to do so would have been too long, too complete, and too costly, end quote. They did also say, however, if they were successful in this, they will launch a second campaign where they will have a USB version for if you do emulation, which I'll get into when I interacted with somebody on Twitter. So what is the cost of this controller? Quote, we wanted to keep the cost down as much as possible, yet not to skimp on quality. We are essentially passing on the savings to our backers to get this project made. We are selling these versions at $20 each, end quote. So on Twitter, I stated that it seems like this is such a niche idea to build a third-party controller for N64, and I was wondering if there's enough demand for this after the Kickstarter campaign. Like, would people go out after this is developed, or is it just for the backers? At KillerB2641 responded by saying, quote, people are still playing N64 games today, whether from the virtual console store or via emulation. I'm sure people will want this. He's very confident, Gary. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, let me just put it this way. So as of right now on Kickstarter, they've made $52,000 pledged of their $13,000 goal. Now, a couple hours ago, I looked at this exact page, and they were at $48,000. They're now at $52,000. They've made $4,000 in the past 2 hours. So it is going to be successful. I mean, obviously. I can't believe it either, I guess, because it's such an old console, and you don't really think that a lot of people are still playing it. But, I mean, the games on that console are pretty much timeless, obviously, because a lot of people are still playing. So I personally think it's a really cool idea. The controller does look awesome from what I'm looking at. But, you know, it's a dream come true, I guess, for some people. Not so much for me, but cool.
Yeah, if people want to skip that three-prong behemoth of a controller, which was ridiculous. I don't know why they decided to design it that way. Isn't it crazy, like, to go back and see controller designs, like, wondering why they went this route, where now it just works perfectly. And Marta's laughing in the background. She's probably laughing at me for being ridiculous. But, yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of cool that they are just sort of going back and trying to make the new N64 controllers for, I guess, more functionality purpose, where it makes more sense to use this type of controller when you're emulating, because there are adapters out there to emulate an N64 controller for your computer if you're using computer emulation for the N64. Not that we condone that or anything, because I don't think that's illegal, but, you know, it's kind of cool that the Kickstarter is doing well. I'm sure it's because actually Eurogamer shouted them out, like, on an article, and I'm sure people followed it and was like, yeah, I kind of want this because I have an N64. Me personally, I don't, but I'm sure people are excited to play this or use this or do something with it. Gary, this has been episode 50 of Two Jersey Kids. I don't know. Battleborn. It just hit my head. It just hit my brain. That was Gearbox's game, MOBA game, Battleborn.
There we go.
Sorry that it didn't fail. I just dropped my pen. Gary, what should we do? It's 52 minutes. It's episode 50. It's a special but not special episode. What should we do for this final however long? Should we just talk? You know, just talk about what we plan on doing. Do you plan on streaming later tonight?
Actually, yes, I do. Actually, I want to I'll talk about that for a second.
Sure.
So from here on out, I've actually posted on Twitter before as well, but I figured everybody actually listens to the podcast. It's easier to talk to you guys because you actually, know something about me and myself, and you actually like me. I'm going to be streaming. It's debatable, yeah, whatever. I'll be streaming basically on weekends and also in the week. It's kind of like I want to try to do Friday and Saturday, and also during the week, maybe like whenever I get the chance. I don't know, but yeah, I've been streaming a lot lately. It's been a lot of fun doing it, even though I haven't had a lot of people watching. I've had some friends tune in and talk to me in the chat. It's kind of cool. It makes me feel like a real streamer. But,
you are a real streamer. If you have it in your brain, you are a real streamer. You just got to slowly just build up followers. You can do it.
I just need to become a god at PUBG, and then everybody's going to flock. That's what happens. Like these guys, like Grims, for example, Mr. Grims, damn good player. Probably the best player I've ever seen play this game. I mean, he's not like, a crazy entertaining guy. I've seen like really entertaining people on Twitch that are just hilarious no matter what game they're playing. Mm. But he's so good at the game. He pulls in like 17,000 people a night. It's nuts. It's insane.
There you go, Gary. Got to get real good. Yeah. Keep practicing.
It's tough.
I think getting a new job is gonna hinder you here. You can't play. You can't be up in the crack of dawn playing games anymore. You got to become an adult, Gary. It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Put on your adult pants and hit the workforce. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's tremendous. It's so much fun, people. Whoever's young out there that's listening to this podcast, never graduate college. Just stay in college.
Accumulate their student debts, because who cares? Yeah. Who cares?
Be a quadruple major. Just go crazy, dude.
Go nuts. Maybe figure out what exactly you want.
Yeah.
But Gary, do you have anything planned for this weekend? I know you said you're going to do a charity cherry hockey. You can play some cherry hockey. I can't speak right now. But, I mean, I don't want to keep us here longer if we don't have much to talk about. I mean, what I'm doing this weekend, I don't know exactly. I think I'll be hit up a picnic. Going to be fun. Get some fruity food because Marta's company's sort of doing like a picnic get-together type deal. So I got to mingle it up. Actually put on a nice shirt and everything. Be presentable because I'm not always presentable, let's be honest. And then... got to go do some shopping for certain events, which is exciting stuff. But on Sunday, I think we're actually going to go to an adoption event, which will be kind of cool. Check out some puppies. Maybe we'll finally get a dog. We are debating on getting a dog.
What kind of dog though?
See, here's the thing. Marta, she's either reacts to certain dogs, like allergy wise, or sometimes she doesn't react. Like she's reacted to Sparky before, but then also a month or later when she goes back to the same place, doesn't react at all to Sparky. So it's strange how it works. I think we're leaning towards maybe like a Labradoodle style dog where they're more hypoallergenic. I'm not sure. We did see, because we want to adopt a dog because I feel like I don't want to, paying for puppies they're expensive because then you have to get them neutered and everything. That's even more expensive because some puppies go for like thousands of dollars, which is insane. But I kind of wanted to go to adoption, give like older dogs like a home, be nice, and give them a home because they need one. And I saw like there was cute ones when I looked on a shelter site, and I think there's an event on Sunday. I think we're gonna drive down the Falls. I think it's like Falls Church area, and we're gonna go check out some pups and maybe bring one home. Who knows? It's exciting times, and I think the one that was really cute was like a 50-pound like little lab mix. And they do say that mixed dogs are healthier. So if you're out there, don't go for the pure breeds because that's genetically is not smart because you need to intermingle genes so they actually become healthier. You know that?
Interesting. But actually, I will say that my sister, the dog that they bought or adopted was from Puerto Rico. His name's actually Rico, which is kind of funny. But
did they have to go all the way to get the dog?
Well, no, he was in a shelter over in PA, I believe. But yeah, they adopted him from there. So adoption is the way to go. And by the way, lab dogs are so awesome. I love labs. Yeah. The dog they have is like a pit bull mix. It's like a pit bull and God knows what else. But he's
here, like Montgomery County, Maryland. Like certain breeds you just can't have, or they'll take them away, and they may bring them to a kill shelter. Who knows? So you can't have like pit bulls or Rottweilers. Even though it's so
dumb.
I went to a one shelter in Montgomery County where it was like a smaller Rottweiler, and this dog was beautiful. Like it looked so happy and it was like beautiful.
Yeah.
And it just, unfortunately, certain dogs get a negative stereotype because I guess they some of the breeds in the past have can be prone to violence if there's a poor owner that just doesn't know how to take care of a dog, which can happen from time to time. But yeah, it should be exciting. I wanted to say something else, but I can't remember what I was going to say about dogs. I can get on the topic of dogs and talk about dogs for a long time. Oh, yeah. It was kind of sad, though. My mom sent up a package, and in the package was my dog, my yellow lab, Sparky, passed away a month or so back, and she sent me the little collar. Sent me a little collar of Sparky.
Oh, no.
It's a little sad, and I hang it up next to his picture. He had cancer and like a tumor spread from like his legs all the way up to his chest, and it was just had to put him down. And unfortunately, I wasn't there to see him go, which was kind of sad. But he was a lovable oaf. That's for damn sure.
Sparky was the man, to say the least.
So this episode goes out to you, Sparky. You can't understand a word we're saying, but this episode is for you. But yeah, this has been episode 50 of Two Jersey Kids. Again, if you are a new listener, I'm happy you made it all the way to the end right here. So please hit that subscribe button. I think we're worth it. I know we're worth it. Let's skip the think. be positive. I know we're worth it. Thank you all Jersey kids out there that do subscribe to the podcast, do listen to us regularly, which is insane to think about. We recently hit over 500 downloads for the last episode, which was kind of rad. More than I ever expected download-wise. Now, if all those are listeners, who knows? But maybe I would like to think 50% of them are. So that's positive thinking of my end. It could be like 2%. Who knows? But again, we appreciate all listeners out there. We appreciate everyone who interacts with us on Twitter, who likes our retweets us, who just tries to talk with us, because we want to talk with you guys. We want to interact with you. We want to find out more about you, find what you like, what you dislike. And I just kind of want to build a community in the future. Maybe this will be a huge thing. Maybe it won't, but me and Gary have fun time doing it. I know this is a nice stress reliever at the end of a Thursday, which can be sometimes stressful. And, talking about things that we do enjoy on our, just occasionally on our own time is fun. And we just want you guys to be a part of it. So please go rate us if you think we deserve it. You can rate us on iTunes, and then also Stitcher. You can find us if you do Stitcher.com/2JerseyKids. You can give us a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star rating, whatever. Just please leave us feedback if you give us a rating. It will help us out greatly to understand what we can do to get better at this and try to make it more enjoyable for you guys. If you want me to stop rambling, I'll try my best to stop rambling. I can't guarantee anything when it comes to that, because my mind works in mysterious ways. But
all right. Here we go.
I'm not going on any more tangents, Gary. We're gonna wrap up this podcast. But yeah, this is episode 50 of the Two Jersey Kids podcast. We really appreciate you guys coming along for this ride. Episode 52 is around the corner, which is really the anniversary episode, which is exciting, which is a whole year's worth. It's just crazy to think about how we've come so far. I remember the first episode talking about purchasing a Sega Saturn, calling my brother a meathead because he didn't know anything about it and purchased a Sega Saturn, and then going on to on that Sega Saturn playing Madden 97 with like the stick rain falling down. It just looks like a bunch of like white sticks falling down, and then going to PS2 playing Kingdom Hearts and like SmackDown vs. Raw and all good times, thinking all the way back, and then talking about how me and Gary met through video games in the 6th grade, bonded over Rise of Nations. It was a fun time.
I remember the awkwardness of getting that episode started. I remember the nervousness actually that centered around it. But I actually want to save some of the. I want to look back on our first episode, like during this week lull we have before the next episode, obviously, and I actually want to comment on it. I don't know. We gotta like do something fun with that. I think for episode 52, gotta do something interesting.
You think so? Maybe we can make a YouTube video where we go
looking back on episode 1.
Because you didn't know, this is an actual announcement. We are on YouTube now. Our audio actually gets loaded up to YouTube every single time we publish. So if you want to check out the audio there, you're more than welcome to. We want to in the future to finally get our faces on there. I have to figure out how to do that. So we have our faces and audio, because I kind of want to make sure that our audio quality is good for the podcast feed, and then because the audio doesn't have to be nearly as good for our YouTube, because that's not really people listen to podcasts, but it'll be beneficial because people do search on YouTube all the time, and I've read that people don't stay when it's just the same image for the whole hour and so episode. But Gary, do you have any comments on like the whole past year? Like the fact that we made it to 50, the fact that we did this, we've met people. Well, we haven't met them, but we interact with the people online, like Nikita, Allison Lodato, who's freaking. They're both awesome. Adam, I had an episode with him. He's awesome. Just met a decent amount of people just doing this, and it's been a fun time. Yeah,
it's been awesome. Don't forget Kat, by the way.
From the Nintendo Kat, episode. Who was on the Nintendo Switch episode. She's awesome. She went out and started, selling our podcast, probably because she was on it. But I'm sure she still listens.
No, I think the thing that I think about, honestly, when I look back on a year, it's all the stuff that's happened from that point. I mean, I started out still in college, and now I'm out of college, and it's just, just the difference in my life from that time is insane. I just remember coming home from school or class every night, and it would be like, get home around like 10, and we would record like 11. It was like these late night recording episodes. Oh my God, it was terrible in some ways.
Yeah, but
always a fun time.
we made it work. I think we're committed to this, and we're hoping to get to another 50 episodes. We're going to get to episodes 100. We're going to be here every Friday for you all. This has been Two Jersey Kids. I'm Adam. That is Gary. Gary, say something.
Yo. Adios. Also, I'm going to say goodbye now, so you don't have to ask me to say goodbye. Adios, everybody.
Okay.
Have a great night.
So, yeah, we appreciate you. We love you all. We love all you Jersey kids out there. Remember, please share the podcast with people that you love or hate. Who knows? But yeah, this has been episode 50 of Two Jersey Kids. We're about to peace out. Bye.